It's about that time of day again. My name is Joseph. It's Wednesday evening, March the 8th, 2017. Welcome back to your nightly newsletter. We're covering crude oil, S&P, gold, euro, and FDAX this evening. Crude oil had quite the impressive run today, running 5% lower and ending just above $50 a barrel. Now, a runaway session like this tells us to be looking for a correction or a range tomorrow, and we'll be using the moving average to look for confirmation. The S&P is bearish and trying to finish a move down to last week's low, but we have a key support trend line standing in the way, which tells us the sellers will be watching the battle zone overhead tomorrow. Gold is bearish after a beautiful trap high, but sitting at the lows of the range tells me to look for a correction or a continuation tomorrow. We're just waiting for proof. The euro's bearish after a picture-perfect selling opportunity for the bears today, but now we're sitting at the range lows and waiting to see if the sellers want to go lower or if we get another round of selling opportunities up at the highs tomorrow. The FDAX is still trading inside that range we've been talking about all week, and our strategy of selling the highs and buying the lows will continue again tomorrow. We're heading into the last full day of trading tomorrow before Friday's big non-farm payroll report, and have another great newsletter in store for you guys and gals tonight. Plenty of tradable opportunities setting up for Thursday's session. Before we jump into this video, though, I do want to remind you, the only place to watch the full-length version is on our blog at sidewaysmarkets.com. If you're watching the video right now on our YouTube channel, it's only a small portion on the YouTube channel. Not to worry. In the description of that YouTube video, there's a link in there. Follow that link and come join me on the blog at sidewaysmarkets.com. While you're here, don't forget, join the mailing list. I'll send you an email every evening when our nightly newsletter goes live. Follow me on social. I'm always posting charts and important updates throughout the day on my many different social media channels. Right below the video tonight, you can download the charts from tonight's video. How easy is that? All the charts you see me using in tonight's video, follow that link and you can have them on your computer for tomorrow. In the upper right-hand corner, please don't forget to grab your free pass. You're going to learn more with me in 90 minutes on that free pass than you will anywhere else on the interwebs. I can guarantee you that. If you're not an advanced member here at School of Trade, make sure you grab that free pass in the upper right-hand corner. Don't forget, too, if you're brand new here to the SOT community, we've got a great frequently asked questions page. And, of course, I'm always here to answer your questions 24/7, 365. Hit me up on the live support tool on the right-hand side of the website. Boy, oh boy, we've had a great week so far. This has been an incredible month. How about those strength trades? How about that spike in channel today on crude? Boy, oh boy, I really hope you guys saw value in last night's newsletter. And if you used it today, you really had some great results. Hope you guys did well out there today in Wednesday's session. Now, we're only as good as our next trade, though. Let's get ready for tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday, March the 9th. We are going into Friday's non-farm payroll number. Heads up on that. We'll start talking more about that right in tomorrow night's newsletter. Really, though, all eyes now, we're shifting Thursday into Friday's non-farm payrolls. So be aware of that. We'll be talking more about that in tomorrow night's newsletter. But all eyes now are shifting to that, right, that big news event, right, the first Friday of every 1 month. Now, tonight we got 8:30 news from China. Be aware of that. If you guys are planning on trading the overnight Asian session, we got some news from China, right? Consumer prices in China always going to be a market-moving event, so be aware of that. Tomorrow we have a very highly anticipated, right? Always a great time watching these ECB announcements, right? You thought our government sessions were wacky here in the U.S., right? The ECB sessions are even crazier. Always good for a couple laughs. Always good for some good movement on markets like gold, markets like the euro tomorrow. If you're trading gold or euro tomorrow, be aware that 7:45 a.m. announcement followed by the 8:30 press conference. Usually that press conference goes until about 9:30, 9:15, 9:30 afterwards. So be aware. There's going to be about an hour and a half there where you may see just chaos, right, on the euro and the gold tomorrow around that time. You may see it moving pretty slowly, right? It all depends on what that announcement's going to be tomorrow. I'm not going to waste your time and try to tell you what the announcement will be because it's irrelevant, right? The actual words that come out of their mouths are completely irrelevant, right? I can take all the time in the world to figure out what the heck they're talking about. It doesn't matter to me, though. All that matters is how the market reacts to it, right? That's the secret. Don't worry about so much about what the news is. Just know when the news is coming out, right? And, of course, trade the reaction to it. Other than that, tomorrow we don't have a lot on the calendar. We get the jobless claims tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Guys, don't confuse the opening bell on gold. I got a couple emails last time when I talked smack about this jobless claims report. Don't confuse this 8:30 news with the opening bell on gold and euro. Okay, remember the opening bell on gold and euro is at 8:20 a.m. Eastern time. So don't confuse the opening bell at 8:20 for being a big reaction to jobless claims. Jobless claims haven't moved the markets it's been like a decade now. I can't even think of the last time we saw the move of the market there at 8:30 on jobless claims. So if we had something else there tomorrow, we got some minor news at 8:30, but I'm not expecting that to be too big of a market moving event tomorrow. So I think the big fireworks here are going to be from China overnight. And again, that ECB announcement tomorrow, which is good because some of these markets need to catch their breath tomorrow. One more thing, too. Tomorrow, of course, Thursday. Tomorrow afternoon, be aware ahead of that non-farm number on Friday. Tomorrow afternoon, want to be careful. You're probably not going to see a lot of new volume entering the market tomorrow just because the big boys and girls out there aren't going to want to put anything at risk ahead of Friday's non-farm payroll. So watch out for low volume tomorrow. That will typically creep in 2 o'clock, 2:30, 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon as traders start to buckle down ahead of that non-farm payroll on Friday. So not a lot on the counter for tomorrow besides the ECB announcement. Be aware of that. We'll come back and talk more about that in a moment. Not a bad thing though, because I can see one market that probably needs a little bit of oxygen here for tomorrow. I'm not going to go into the fundamentals of all this excessive crude oil we have in the market right now, but you can see today was clearly a bearish day, massive 5% move down, sent prices back to $50 a barrel, just about $50 a barrel. We'll expect to see that 50 probably tested tomorrow. This market is clearly bearish, but markets that move this far, this fast, will most often trade sideways or begin correcting higher tomorrow. Now, our plan is to watch the moving average to see what tomorrow brings, Is tomorrow going to be a pullback, or is it going to be a reversal? We're keeping an eye out on a trading range and a possible trend reversal tomorrow. Again, I don't want to call a bottom right now. I'll be waiting for proof. Now, we talked about this in last night's newsletter, how when we see a real strong move in one direction, Remember this from last night's newsletter, The four things, They were spike in channel, They were spike in wedge, We saw a beautiful spike in channel today on crude oil. It was amazing, Great session today on crude. Obviously, if I would have known this thing was going to go back to 50 today, I would have given you all a heads up last night, But obviously here, a lot of stuff coming to fruition right now on crude, and they're going to pay the piper eventually, I mean, literally, people have swimming pools filled with this black gold right now, So there really wasn't any reason. We'll be looking out to see what OPEC says in the next couple of days. That's for sure. I'm sure there'll be a strategic disruption in supply somewhere in the Middle East later on this week. So look out for that, Always good for a couple laughs when we hear from OPEC right now. We've now shifted in the trading industry now. We've now shifted from taking OPEC seriously to almost fading OPEC news now, And this happened a couple of years ago, Back when we went from 100 to 50 or 100 to 24. Remember that fun ride, a couple of years ago? Yeah, well, those were the days when people actually worried about what OPEC said. Now whatever they said, they go, okay, dot the I, cross the T, sell it, Whatever's coming out of their mouth right now. So bottom line is, anytime we see a market make a real strong move down, spike in channel, spike in wedge, spike in range, and a possible flag pattern. These are the four patterns that we talked about in last night's newsletter. I'm not going to go over all of them right now. If you missed last night's newsletter, definitely go back and watch the video from last night on the 4 ways to trade strength. We got this one today on crude oil, Really, really good example of that today. Now, we're talking back to back, Back to back, real strong bearish trending environments. Typically, I'm not going to say we can't. I'm definitely not going to say we can't. We may see another one of these tomorrow, This thing may pop up and roll right over, or we may see it finish off that 50 and just keep running, So if we do keep running, you know the plan, The same plan we talked about in last night's newsletter is the plan tomorrow for crude oil. So if you didn't watch the video last night, make sure you go back and watch it, Watch the full version on the blog at Sideways Markets. If this market runs lower, if we do just keep on running, then we're looking for, again, spike in channel, spike in wedge, spike in range, or that rundown and a flag. Now, with that said, if it runs lower, we know we're looking for one or two of these scenarios. tomorrow is again, I can't predict because look what happened today, right? I'm not gonna try to act like I know the future here. I just trade what I see. So we know that if it goes lower, we're looking for those spike in channel, spike in wedges. Probably not, but hey, again, it might happen. If not, now we look for these two right here, right? Spike in ranges, right? And spike and flags, okay? So those are the two that I'm expecting tomorrow, right? But don't hold me to it because this thing may just take off the downside again tonight, right? It's been a pretty wild ride here so far this week. Let's talk spike and range, let's talk flag, and let's talk about how we're going to use that moving average here tomorrow. Most important thing right now, here are three ways, okay? Here are three ways that you can really use that moving average tomorrow. Again, this assumes that we don't just roll over, right, and just bury our heads down and go to 45 tomorrow, right? We might, right? So be ready for that. And if we do, because you watched last night's newsletter, you know the plan for those first two scenarios tomorrow, right? So you got some homework tonight if you didn't. Now, with that said, here are three ways that you want to be thinking about using that moving average tomorrow, right? This little guy right here. This cute little guy right there, right? It gives you so many great pieces of information, and as long as you know how to use it the right way, and you don't overload this chart with too many other junk indicators, right, that are doing the same thing, right, you'll know how to interpret it. Now, three things. One, usually when we see a market do this back-to-back days, we're probably going to see this, flat moving average. Okay, flat moving average would be a sign of what? A trading range. Double tops, double bottoms, right? Typically, the first thing I think of when I see a market that is now back-to-back days like this, I think, okay, bears aren't going to want to keep selling low, right? Unless something comes out, you know, maybe OPEC comes out and says, we're drilling for more, right? Hey, if they happen to make that blunder, not good for their business, right? Good for people who have filled their gas tank up every day. But you know, if for some reason we did hear, there's more reason to question, right, the overall supply and demand equation right now, which we know is weighted much more supply than demand. The bottom line though is, right, typically these will go sideways. Watch that moving average now going sideways, and if we start going sideways, the plan is pretty simple, right? Sell the high, sell the high. Wait for that price to get up. Right? Failure and then back down. Be very careful selling below. Not only is that 50 area going to continue to be a magnet, you know, every once in a while we get back to these big round numbers. Okay, get back to a big round number. We got 50 on crude right now. We got 1,200 right on the gold coming up here, possibly later on this month. Whenever we find ourselves back to a big round number like this that we haven't seen in a while, we usually balance out for a few days around that big round number until people kind of get the courage, right, to go looking for different prices up or down. So first things first, if the moving average goes sideways, right, moving average goes sideways, that tells you we have a trading range, and of course we're looking to sell the high. In all reality, I don't think you're going to need that moving average to go sideways, because if this market goes up, you're going to have a lot of folks here right now trying to sell this sucker back down, right? So you might see it look like this, right? Start somewhat sideways, right? Jump up, buyer failure, back down, right? The thing is, when it gets back down to that low, it doesn't keep going, right? Profit taking, back up, right? There's your trading range now, right? So it all depends on what it does at the low of that range once it comes collapsing back down. The bottom line, though, is, right, we start seeing this thing go sideways, right, flat moving average, up, bring it back down. They don't run it through the low, take profit, back up, back down, right? Think about the DAX the last couple of days. That's exactly what we've been trying to do here on crude tomorrow, right? There's scenario one, right? Strong move down into a range, just keep selling the high of that range. Traps, failures, whatever it takes, right? We'll talk about the setups we use in the advanced class. Now, with that said, second thing, okay? Next two are going to involve the moving average going higher, right? Second thing. Now, we talked about this, was it last week? Earlier this week? Go back and watch the video on how to predict a price reversal, right? There's a newsletter video I did. Was it this week or last week? It all blends together these days, right? Predicting a price reversal, right? Here's one way we can use the moving average tomorrow to predict a price reversal. Now, here's what a price reversal will not look like, okay? So we talk about the trading range. Second scenario. Above the moving average, and we grind. Okay, I want you to see how I draw this. See how it grinds off that moving average, almost as if the price action on the candlesticks are just